In this lecture, we're going to talk about the Parrot Sequoia camera. This is one of the smallest multispectral cameras on the market, and it's been around for a couple of years. The Sequoia camera is made by Parrot, a French company that got their start in Bluetooth technology for cars, actually, and they move on to off-the-shelf drones, starting with the AR drone, actually in 2010, very early on in the drone industry. So they've been around for a while. The Sequoia is a 4-band camera. We have red, green, red edge, and near infrared. And so it gives you all 4 bands as a TIFF file as it triggers. It also has a 16 megapixel RGB camera. And so the idea there was that you could map with both RGB and multispectral at the same time. However, the RGB camera on Sequoia is notorious for its rolling shutter. A rolling shutter means that the sensor is filled from top to bottom, not all at once, like a global shutter, which are the other 4 bands. And so in this case, the slow rolling shutter actually smears or blurs the imagery on the sensor as the drone is flying. So most people don't use the RGB, although I've used it for some applications and have it be fine. The Sequoia is made to mount on different drones. It does come with a radiant sensor or a sunshine sensor that captures light wavelengths in those same 4 bands and tags your imagery. It also has an external GPS, and so if you mount it on a drone, you can trigger directly from the external GPS. It doesn't have to be integrated for the inside the drone except for power. So it can get power directly off of the drone. And it is a fairly power hungry camera, and it can heat up fairly well or fairly hot, and so that's one of the downsides of the camera. There has been some overheating issues, especially when you integrate it into a drone and it doesn't have enough airflow around it. So you need good airflow around this particular camera. And so price point is one of the benefits of the Sequoia. It starts at $3,500. And you can then integrate it into whatever drone you want. Parrot has, in the past, invested in a couple of different drone options where the camera is integrated for you. One of those is the Parrot Bluegrass. So that's this copter here. And you can see that the Sequoia is fully integrated in the bottom, and then you have the light sensor on the top. So this runs about $5,000 with batteries and the camera and a backpack that it comes with it. And so this was fully integrated also to process with Parrot Fields, one of the softwares that would stitch a real-time ndvi map right there on your iPad. Now this drone has had some issues. It is a little bit tippy. The batteries are a little bit slow to charge. And it hasn't been super popular in terms of rapid spreading throughout the agricultural market, whereas a lot of people have been using the camera itself. Another option for flying is actually putting it on a fixed wing. And so there is an integration kit that you can get that will mount directly onto the EB or the EB Plus, and so you can actually get several hundred acres on a particular flight, and it will trigger automatically through the eMotion software. And so here you can see the light sensor on the top. Parrot did come out with the Disco Pro Ag, which was a modified version of the Parrot Disco, which looks a bit like an EB, but is a consumer product. And that was actually controlled by a mobile application compared to the eMotion software, which is desktop. So different options for mounting the sensor. EB also had the EB SQ, which was a lower priced EB product that only mounts the Sequoia in it. So those are some of the things you might see on the market still. Now for processing for the Sequoia sensor, you have a couple of different options, but because Parrot is the parent company of Pix4D, the photogrammetry software, then you're primarily going to be limited to Pix4D for really dialing in the imagery. So that could be Pix4D Mapper, the desktop software, which runs around $350 a month or $3,500 a year. But also I've been using Pix4D Fields, which is a rapid stitch software that will process Sequoia imagery, and that runs around $250 a month or $2,500 a year currently, but it will give you a rapid stitch right when you're in the field. Often it only takes around 10 minutes or so for me to get different map layers. So that's another option for the Sequoia. So all in all, the benefits are really that small size, the lower price, and you do get that nice 4-band data. The downsides of Sequoia would be there is some overheating issues with it, and the lack of full integration. And it's been around for a while. We haven't seen a Sequoia 2 come out. We have seen the Sequoia Plus, and there's a lot of questions around what's the difference between the Sequoia and the Sequoia Plus. And primarily that's around the light sensor and an upgrade to the light sensor that gives you better radiometric calibration. By that, it means that the reflectance values more accurately reflect true reflectance. So they more accurately depict what the reflectance is happening off of the plants back into the camera and correcting for inbound light that's coming and being tagged onto your photos. So that's the difference between the two. So that's a general rundown on the Sequoia camera. Best options on the market today, I would go for the EBX and the integration on a fixed wing to cover large areas, or you need to integrate in and get power directly to the camera, and maybe you can use an M200 or M100 series for carrying it, as well as maybe an RGB camera at the same time. So that's a general wrap up, and I hope that's interesting to you. And with that, we'll move on to the next camera in our lineup.